Welcome back, everyone, to the Bears Travel Plays YouTube channel. Today is Friday, September 27th, and we're going to be looking at a match between the Washington Huskies and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. This should be a pretty good game. The spread is nearly a pick'em. Should definitely be a fun watch. I have one game pick, the two best player props of this game as well. Hope everybody enjoys their Friday, and let's break down some ball. All right, guys, here's the recap from the Army-Temple game. Army, they do come through for us. They do cash. Minus 12.5 against Temple. I think the final score is 35-14, maybe 42-14. Army might have scored again, but it was really never in doubt. Army played really well. Temple made a little bit of comeback late in the third quarter with the passing game, but Army defense got a pick, and then they just sat on the ball the entire fourth quarter. So Army did cash. Both player props were incredibly easy as well. I think Dante might have finished with over 100 receiving yards, and I know Bryson Daly had close to 200 yards on the ground with 3 touchdowns. So both of those plays cash with ease. 3-0 day. Love to see it. Here's the updated leaderboard. 1-0 on the game pick, 2-0 on the player props. We are starting to feel ourselves over the last couple games, 13-4 over the last 7. Let's keep the ball rolling into Friday and Saturday. We're going to look at the Scarlet Knights going up against the Washington Huskies. Minus 1.5 right now for Rutgers. I'm going to take them as the play. We're going to talk about both these teams, and then I'm going to tell you why Rutgers is going to win this game. But we're going to start with Washington. They're coming in 3-1 this season. Their only loss on the year was in the Apple Cup. They lost to Washington State. They really should have won that game towards the end. They made too many mistakes. They could easily be 4-0 this season, and they did get a pretty good quarterback in the transfer portal with Will Rogers, who I think is good, not great. He does bring some firepower to this offense, and really all you need is to not turn the ball over because the Washington defense so far this season, they've been pretty good. Last weekend against Northwestern Washington, they were able to just dominate Northwestern defensively. They only gave up a total of 5 points, and the offense gave up 2 of those points on a safety. Tonight, though, it's going to be a little bit more of a problem because this Rutgers team is not Northwestern. They're going to be able to move the ball up and down the field. Rutgers is coming into this game undefeated. They beat Virginia Tech on the road last weekend, 26-23. That was a huge win for them. I'm a little bit concerned about the letdown spot that might come in this game after a really big win, but they're going to be back home. It's a night game. This place is going to be rocking. Hopefully, Rutgers is in the all-black uniforms as well. And I do think Rutgers is going to win this game because they can just move the ball better than Washington can. This game's most likely going to be one of the trenches. I think Rutgers can run the ball in this game going up against Washington. They got a really good running back. I'm going to talk about him on the player prop side. Last week going up against Virginia Tech, they had 422 yards of offense, and that's kind of been the normal thing for them this season. They're scoring nearly 40 points per game, 471 yards of total offense per game, and they're averaging 255.7 yards per game on the ground. They've got some really good targets on the outside. They've got a decent quarterback, a senior this year with the team. The defense has also been really good, allowing 15.7 points per game, 296 yards per game. Both of these numbers are top 40 in the nation. Washington, they're most likely going to want to try to throw the ball in this game with Rutgers, but they're only allowing 134.7 yards per game through the air. I know some of these numbers don't really count because they're a little bit skewed. They've played some bad teams, but so far what we've seen, Washington's going to make too many mistakes in this game to win. It might be close down the stretch, but we're going to see Washington make mistakes, penalties, maybe have a turnover in a crucial time. And on the road is not a place to do that kind of stuff, especially going up against Rutgers. I think it's going to be a physical game, but I think Rutgers will take them towards the end of the game. I'm going to take them 27-20 to win this game, minus 1.5 as the play. Let's go over to some player props for this game. We're going to be taking both running backs, so just a heads up for the next pick. We're going to start with Washington running back Jonah Coleman to go over 64.5 rushing yards against Rutgers. I talked about this defense for Rutgers. They have been really good going up against the pass this season, giving up just 144 yards per game through the air, but they have been a little bit vulnerable on the ground, giving up 169.5 yards per game. Jonah Coleman's coming off that game against Northwestern. He was given 15 carries, 67 yards. He did find the end zone as well, and I think Washington's going to try to rely on the run just a little bit more in this game. We've seen Will Rogers in big games in the SEC kind of crumble with the pressure going up against some of those good teams in high-pressure situations. Some guys just aren't cut out for those SEC games, but I also don't know if he's cut out for this game on the road against Rutgers. This should be a high-pressure situation kind of game. I do think we're going to see Washington try to match the physicality up front and run the ball pretty early in this game with Coleman. He does have double-digit carries in every game this season in the first 4 games, and he also has 75-plus yards in 3 of the 4 games this year as well. I'll take him over 64.5 rushing yards as the first play. For the final play and for the final player props tonight, we're going to be looking at the Rutgers starting tailback, Kyle Monangai, to go over 104.5 rushing yards against Washington. His last name is a little bit of a mouthful, but I do think I pronounced it right. But I'm just going to call him Kyle from now on just in case. And the name might sound familiar because he's been with Rutgers since 2021, and last year he was one of the best running backs in the country with 242 carries, nearly 1,300 yards, and 8 touchdowns. This season, he's picked up right where he left off last season, already having 72 carries, nearly 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, averaging 6.3 yards per carry. Rutgers on the year, they are averaging over 200 yards rushing per game, and this Washington defense is going to make it difficult for them to move the ball, but I don't think it's going to be a problem for Kyle. I like the beef up front for the Scarlet Knights. And Washington, you can see it on the bottom right corner. They're only allowing 90 rushing yards per game, and this is set at 104.5. But this is definitely going to be the toughest test for Washington defensively all year. Kyle's actually coming off his worst game of the season against Virginia Tech. He had 26 carries, 84 yards, and a touchdown. But looking at his previous 2 games against Akron and Howard, he was able to rattle off 165-plus yards in both games, having 19 carries as his lowest carry count in both those games as well. I think Rutgers is going to give this guy the ball 20-plus times. Whenever that happens, usually he goes over 100-plus rushing yards. Last season, whenever he was given the ball 20-plus times, he had over 100 rushing yards in every single game going up against Temple, Michigan State, Indiana, Ohio State, Maryland, and Miami. I like him to dominate Washington in this game, over 104.5 rushing yards as the play. Let's go over to the recap graphic. We're taking Rutgers, minus 1.5 against Washington. Jonah Coleman, over 64.5 rushing yards against Rutgers. And Kyle Monagai, over 104.5 rushing yards against Washington. Guys, that's going to do it for the NCAA football plays and props for Friday, September 27th slated games. If you guys enjoyed the content, please sure to drop a like on this video and subscribe down below. See you guys next video, and thanks for watching.